Get out of here. Go on. Yeah. Hello again, folks. It's a grouchy old patriot. Welcome back. And if you haven't ever been to the channel before, welcome. Sorry about that. I had one of the neighbor's barn cats coming up, sniffing around. Hope everybody's doing well today. Got a question for you before we get today's little discussion started. Another one of them heavy topics that's been weighing on the old Grouch's brain. Pecan pie or pumpkin pie? Which one is here in the South, would you say, would be more stereotypical to have for Thanksgiving or Christmas? I say pecan, only because I like pecan pie better than pumpkin pie. And in all reality, there's only two kinds of pie the old Grouch likes anyway: hot pie and cold pie. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Pecan pie or pumpkin pie? Folks, before we get into today's discussion, I want to apologize for the last video I uploaded. I got a little irate, said a couple of words I shouldn't have said on a family-friendly channel, and for that I apologize. Today's discussion, we're going to be talking about something that I know there are a lot more qualified people than me to talk about. And that's the fact that this country was founded on Judeo-Christian ideals. Got a couple of quotes here I'd like to read for you, and I'm going to read them just so that I don't misquote them. Only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. That was said by Benjamin Franklin. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. And that was said by John Adams. And I think most of you will agree with me that those were two pretty intelligent people. Why do I think this matters? Well, I want you to look at our Constitution. Look at the length of it. Compare it to some of the founding documents and constitutions of other nations in the world. Compare it to your own state constitution. In all reality, it's a pretty short document to set up how a government is supposed to operate and function. Why is that, I wonder? Well, we're a nation that was founded on Judeo-Christian beliefs and principles, but we do have freedom of religion. Matter of fact, that was the first thing they added to the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment. They did not believe that a person should be forced to believe in any one God. And they didn't think that a government had the right, had the ability, or should have the power to regulate religion for the people. They left that up to the people, you and I. But they also left a lot more up to us. The Constitution was left short and not overburdensome so that the people could govern themselves. And by doing that, it takes a virtuous people to govern themselves. I'm not saying you have to be a Christian or Jewish, Muslim. I've known some atheists who knew right from wrong. They were pretty moral people. But I want you to look at what's happened in this country in the last several years. And when I say several, I'm going all the way back to the 60s and 70s, the free love movement, and hippy-dippy times. I say that as I'm wearing a nice flowery hippie shirt. But over the last 50 years, the morality in this nation has been under attack. Now, I'm not saying that I have the right to judge anybody, because I don't. But I do know what's right and what's wrong for me. We've got drugs flooding across our southern border. Not just fentanyl, which has been in the news lately, but cocaine, heroin, hashish, you name it. It's been forced into this country, flooding into this country. Number one, because there's a demand for it. But it's also being pushed in and made dirt cheap so that the most desperate among us can afford it. A person who doesn't see any way out, needs escape from reality, is more likely to turn to drugs and alcohol than a person who has his life squared away, has a good church family to fall back on, a good family to fall back on, neighbors and friends to help him through the rough times. But it's not just the drugs. We have seen a surge in the availability in pornography. We've seen a surge in the lessening of morals all over the country. Once you start going down the path that, well, this ain't too bad, I can do this, or that's not too bad, I can do that, it's easier and easier to take that next step. We took God out of our classrooms. When I was a young man, when I was going to school, little boy, we still said the Pledge of Allegiance. We still said the Lord's Prayer every morning. We were never forced to pray. Matter of fact, our teachers always told us, if you don't want to pray, don't pray, but stay quiet so the other ones can. If you want to pray a different prayer, feel free. But we took God out of the schools. Far extreme left people were saying that it's separation of church and state. We can't have prayer in the schools. Well, nowhere in the Constitution does it say that there's a separation of church and state. All it says is that Congress, the federal government, can't establish a national religion. Doesn't say a damn thing about your state government or your county government. Doesn't say a damn thing about your local school board. And I got news for you, people. We have the freedom of religion, not the freedom from religion. Now, if my Jewish neighbor wants to go to the synagogue and worship his way, more power to him. If my Catholic neighbor wants to go and say Mass, or go to Mass and say his confession, more power to him. If my Muslim neighbor wants to go to the mosque, don't have a problem with that. If my pagan neighbor wants to go dance naked in the woods, and pray to the wood fairy or whatever, they have the right to do that, and I will protect that right. But what does all of them people have in common? They got a belief system that at the heart of it has a basis in morality. Right and wrong, good and evil. Now, while Sister Henrietta down at the Southern Baptist Church may not agree with Willow dancing out in the woods naked, and may not agree that she's praying to the right God, there's something that Willow and Henrietta have in common. And that is a belief in right and wrong, good and evil. It takes a moral people. And I'm not saying a religious people, I'm saying moral. It takes people with integrity to rule themselves. And what does that mean? That means I have to have a core belief that it's wrong for me to violate my neighbor's rights. It's wrong to do harm to another person that hasn't harmed you. Whether that be physical harm, mental harm, emotional harm, it's wrong. You have to have that sense of right and wrong. And you have to have the self-discipline to do what's right. You have to have the personal responsibility and the integrity to be able to stand up and say, that's my fault, I did it. If you do occasionally stumble and make a mistake and do something wrong. We've lost that. We have got the far left, the progressives, pushing the transgender and racial crap into our schools and indoctrinating our children. We've got transvestite reading hour. We've got young kids going to drag shows. And if you speak up about it, if you say anything wrong or say anything against it, you're labeled a hater. You're labeled a white supremacist or a racist or a homophobe. You know what? If you want to be a transvestite and dress in women's clothes and go participate in drag shows, the only thing I've got to say to you is you be you, have fun, more power to you, but don't shove it down my throat and don't force it on my kids or my grandkids. We have the freedom in this country that parents should be able to raise their children with their values and their morals and their beliefs without having somebody from the outside telling them you're wrong. This is the way you have to do it. I don't get it, folks. Now, I realize I'm probably not the best person to be speaking on this. I've got a sailor's mouth. If you'll notice in my videos, I pause quite often and come up with a more family-friendly way of saying things. Because if I said what I really felt in the words that I really felt them, number one, half of you would quit listening. And it'd probably get banned because it wouldn't be real family-friendly. But I also believe that words can't hurt people. I was called a lot of things growing up. I'm still here. None of them hurt me. I've been called a lot of things in the last several years. Short, fat, bald, I don't care. Me is me. I am who I am. And your opinion of me doesn't affect who I am. Just as my opinion of you shouldn't bother you. I don't have the answers, people. I'm not going to say we need to put God back in our schools. I'm going to say we all need to have a closer relationship with Him, me included. But I will say that if a local school board wants to put prayer back in their school, that's their right. I can't tell a school board in Montana what to do. I can't tell a school board in Georgia what to do. I can voice my belief. But it all comes down to self-discipline, personal responsibility, respect for the right of others, and integrity. And if we all had that, we would have a lot more moral society. And there'd be less need for government. But by tearing down our morals, forcing our kids to learn things that are against the parents' wishes and the grandparents' wishes, the community's wishes, we're forcing a society to need more government. You know, this is something I want you to think about. Our founding fathers were pretty smart people. A pretty good group of men, had some pretty good arguments amongst themselves. Freedom's hard, folks. Liberty's hard. You got to want it. You got to work for it. You can't just sit back and enjoy it. And part of that hard work is being a moral society. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, share this video. You know, like I said, I'm probably not the best person to be speaking on this topic, but somebody needs to speak on it. somebody needs to get the ball rolling and try and reach out and make people realize how important it is to be a moral or religious society. I didn't say a Christian society. Didn't say Jewish, didn't say a Muslim society. I said a religious. You look into a lot of the religions in the world, Hinduism, Buddhism, paganism, Wicca, Christianity, Judaism, Islam. There's a moral foundation at the core of it. That's all I got for you today, guys. And as always, may Liberty's torch light your path. And Godspeed to every one of you.